From RF Smart, this is On Par, a podcast that delves into the very heart of the healthcare system, its supply chain. And here's your host, Sarah Archer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to On Par with RF Smart. My name is Sarah Archer. Today, joining me in the Jacksonville studio, I have Joey LaRoche here with me today to talk about what is in the name of the podcast, On Par. We're talking about par. And to help us talk about par, we've brought the queen of par herself, Myra Wilworth's here also today to talk about par. And so, guys, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself first. Joey, you've already been here, but Myra, you're new. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am Myra Wilworth, and I'm a business analyst on the Oracle Cloud Professional Services team. And I have been working with healthcare clients for a few years now, and it is my passion. I love it. I'm not necessarily the queen, but I'll take maybe
Duchess?
One of the Duchess is fine. Perfect.
The Duchess of Par Management. Absolutely. I love that. And Joey, who's in our intro episode, if you have not listened to that, go listen to it now. It's a great foundation for the rest of the podcast. Joey, you wrote a really great blog actually very recently about par management. We're going to talk about some of that today. But tell us a little bit about yourself as we get started.
Sure thing. I'm a healthcare product owner with RF Smart, and what that means is I work with our product strategy team in healthcare to prioritize our roadmap items and work with our development team to execute them.
And you guys work together on a lot of those things as well.
Absolutely. So when we bring those products to market, I rely on Myra to actually get them to our customers and set them up.
Yeah, and likewise, when my customers need something or find a need in the product, Joey helps them make that a reality.
That's
and
beautiful,
puts
guys.
their dreams into production.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. Well, I'm so glad you guys are both here today. I actually think that the best way to kick this off, guys, is to start by defining what we mean by par, because I know that for some people in the industry, even some of our own customers, they don't necessarily call it par. They might have a different name. So Myra, when we say par, what do we mean by that?
PAR stands for Periodic Automatic Replenishment, and that is just a location or a way to determine an area that you're going to replenish with inventory. So our customers all across, if you guys are listening and asking what is a PAR, it can be something as a location, requesting location, a crash cart, a closet, or any wall that's in an area where you need to stock your items.
And so what kind of value then does PAR bring versus just kind of traditional inventory management?
So what we hope to bring to our customers is a fast, efficient, mobile solution to be able to request those items right there on the fly, so you don't have to go back and sit at a desktop or waste your time trying to put in a requisition for something, right? We want you guys to be able to walk into that PAR, scan what you need, and move on and do what you need to do as a caregiver.
And there's really sustainability that comes from being able to do PAR management. Can you kind of describe, when we say PAR, like what does that look like? What are our customers physically doing when they're managing their PAR?
Yeah, so what that means is that as a caregiver, you can have your PARs counted every single day when you need stock. So that means you're going up, you're actually looking at what is low, you're counting what is actually low, or you're just scanning that item. Ideally, you're just scanning it, and we are going to create that requisition for you right there, or we're going to create that requisition from the storeroom. So it basically helps you mobily manage your inventory, and that helps you be sustainable, and it helps you be able to manage your inventory real time.
That's awesome, Myra. And yeah, it's definitely kind of a game changer for a lot of our healthcare customers who implement PAR. And there are other kinds of PAR. You kind of talked about traditional PAR. What are the other kinds of PAR management that we see?
So another pretty popular method of PAR management over the traditional just running up and counting and generating picks is the Kanban or two-bin system. And that is a method in which instead of saying out of 15, I have 12 left on the shelf, so let's reorder 3. You have 2 bins for a single product, generally front to back. And when that front bin is empty, the provider will stack it. There will be a barcode on the front of that bin. the par counter will come up. Instead of having to count through the bins to see how much of a product is, they'll just count empty bins, and they'll scan empty bins. So they'll walk up, they'll have a stack of bins, scan. You can have an entire par closet counted in 30 seconds.
I'm just thinking, so you said you've got the 2 bins. What does that setup look like? And is it totally necessary to have the 2 bins?
Most often it is necessary to have the 2 bins. With some lower quantity product, you will see that bin kind of split where it shares space in a single bin, and you'll rely on more institutional knowledge for the counters to be able to identify that empty gap of space, which is a real just easy visual cue. With that 2 bin, it can consume a lot of space. It is important to have your division between the bins last from one par count to the next. So that way, after you count your par, you don't have to worry about both bins running empty before you're back up there to replenish. And while often that can take up a lot of space to have those 2 bins, we've recently had a customer that we worked with to implement 2 bin over traditional par counting, and they were able to really optimize what products they're using, the quantities of their product, and they ended up using less space. They were able to bring more product in through that process of reviewing their needs, and it's not very common, but they ended up going to 2 bin, saving space in their par closet.
That's incredible. What a good story. Yeah. And I'm kind of thinking through, okay, so there's many options when it comes to par. We talked a little bit about traditional and now Kanban, 2 bin. Myra, is there another option for this par management?
Yeah, another way to save space is down in your storeroom. So a lot of our customers opt in for that vendor direct stockless setup where they basically will make an entire par location. So that closet, cart, whatever we've talked about as that par location. And that's all going to be vendor direct. So when you go up and you count that, you're basically just going to create a request right there straight to the vendor. You don't have to actually stock those items in your central storeroom. Overall, saving space in general.
So guys, one question that I have is as you are preparing, maybe you're going to a par management setup, one of the options that we've talked about, what are like the top 3 tips that everybody needs to know as they make that transition?
Excellent question, Sarah. So right off the bat, data quality and data integrity is really far up there. If you're working with bad data in, bad outcomes out. In addition to that, utilize your in-house knowledge.
Joey, I think that you made a great point earlier that the teams, these operations teams and caregivers, they know their space. They talk to the nurses on a daily basis. You know, a nurse will fly in during their par count and they will let them know that they're running out on a regular basis and how can we increase that par count. So involving your operations team from the beginning of the implementation project and working with us here at RF Smart is really beneficial for the success of the entire project and your go live, because they're going to know what it's like at go live and they know what it's like in production. One of the things that I would say is also very beneficial for the entire team and will help with a smooth go live is having labels up in your par locations in your storeroom, ones that the nursing staff and your caregivers can read. You know, so it's the font, it comes down to those simple things that just make their lives easier. And having everything labeled before you go live will really help.
You know, guys, some of the people who are listening today may be kind of already doing this to some degree, but they haven't implemented that mobile piece yet that RF Smart can help with. What does that look like with the mobile aspect?
I think the biggest value added that I've seen overall, looking at all of the projects that we've worked with, is just the reduction in the amount of manual processes writing down items they need. So that means, you know, people from the staff, you know, sending them pieces of paper with the items that they need. We try to eliminate that with the use of barcodes and scanning. So when they're actually able to go up and count their par locations, they don't need to rely on those pads of paper to write down the items or item descriptions. They get, you know, in really difficult situations when someone from the staff on a floor has a list of just item descriptions and those items don't mean anything in their system, right? So then they have to go up and they'll look up what item it is to place an order. With using our Smart Par mobily, they're able to eliminate that and just scan what's needed and create a requisition for that.
So, guys, a lot of people now at this point are like, let's do it. Let's do par management. And so we've got, you know, many listeners who are already on RF Smart and are already doing this in their facility. What is the next step? What happens after you've set up par?
I'm so glad you asked that, Sarah. First of all, piggybacking off of Myra, going mobile and utilizing these barcodes adds a lot of resilience to your par supply chain management. And to double down on that resilience, having access to all this data now, since it's not being done on pen and paper, you're able to bring in processes such as demand planning. What is demand planning? You're able to look at your usage over a period of time that you find relevant and determine, hey, I've reordered this product twice over 6 months. I don't need that much of this in my closet. Or I am running out of this product on a regular basis. Once or twice a week, I may be having a stock out. In that instance, I'm going to need to have a much higher par level and make sure I have a secure safety stock of that high utilization item. And par demand planning comes out and tells you and gives you these warnings before they become problems. In addition, while demand planning can serve as a great asset to your organization, you don't want to lean too heavily upon it. You still need to bring into account institutional knowledge. For example, if you're looking at your demand planning port the week after 4th of July or another major holiday, you're going to have probably pretty different usage than your other weeks in June or July. So you want to take those variances into account. So when it suggests that you stock up on a particular item, you know you're not going to be using that item very heavily for the next 3 months. So demand planning isn't this magic bullet or the end-all be-all. It is a tool for your team to use. It is suggestions, but ultimately you rely on the experts in your team to make the judgment call on what adjustments need to be made.
Yeah. In addition to the demand planning, I love our dashboards. We also have a dashboard that will show you guys high and low usage of par items and par locations that haven't been counted for a long time. So what that means for your teams is that they can actually export that data. And if a par hasn't been counted in 90 days, you can eliminate it, get rid of it. It's probably no longer needed. One of those things that, basically you don't have to go through and do a bunch of data analysis on purchase, and you don't have to go through and physically look. You can actually see from our dashboard what has not been counted in a long time, and then go just check, make sure that it can be eliminated, and that will just clean up your data. We know we have a lot of customers that come from these legacy systems where they have pars that haven't been counted in years, right? So when you go to R Smart, it helps you actually clean up your data and start fresh.
Yeah. And Joey, one of the things that I was just thinking of with demand planning, the last year and a half has been insane. And with all of the shortages and things that people are experiencing, one way to really get ahead of that is with demand planning and really taking a good look at what is it that I'm going to need and how long did it take me to get it the last time, and really going ahead and making plans to cover the basics so that you've got them. We actually have a really great blog about that too.
Also with demand planning and being able to have visibility into all of our data through our dashboards, this really helps the teams feel confident in that they're managing their own inventory and they are able to bounce back from a shortage really quickly, right? So that's the ability to be able to add a substitute item if they need to on the fly. Right now, a lot of our customers are dealing with 5 or 6 substitutes for an item, and that's really hard to manage on a daily basis. So through RF Smart, you're actually able to update that real time so that the next time they go up and count their par locations, they know they've got the correct item to count and they know the correct quantity, right? So they're able to manage this on a daily basis as much as they need to, helping in the long run, helping provide this patient care.
Yep, and about being able to manage their par items through the mass item change. It also helps a lot with the substitution. So with COVID, we've frequently seen we're not able to get this brand of gloves. We need to substitute out the gloves in these 3 pars with this other brand we were able to snag. You can do that in a heartbeat.
I mean, it's really great for these sites to be able to manage a par location and say, okay, I'm done with the substitute. I can change it right here, right now, and I can do that right in RF Smart. And then as soon as the caregivers are ready to go up and count their par locations next time, that's a real-time sync. So they have the most updated items that they should be counting. So being able to manage that kind of data on a daily basis is very helpful for our customers. And we hope that it's helpful for our customers, and that's what we're striving to do.
And with all this item and data management, it will also give you more visibility into what products you're using. And if you have some inconsistencies, so let's say things are a little bit more settled, you're able to plan out what supplies you're getting. You may notice you're using 3 different types of gloves throughout your organization that you're getting from maybe 2 different distributors or 3 different distributors. If you have a GPO, much like a preferred contract with one of those vendors, you can start investigating and looking at why are we using these products that are off contract and see what we can do to convert them back on.
Guys, this is really great examples of the ways that PAR extends just beyond the inventory management, that you're able to do a little bit more and use that to your advantage in order to do some planning, make decisions for your business. I know as we wrap up today, you've got a story to share about our customers and how they are using PAR in their facilities. So what are some good examples of our smart customers doing this in the wild?
So one of the best stories that I saw this year was just a seamless communication between really busy ER nurses and a caregiver that's using RF Smart PAR. And what that looked like was prior to using RF Smart PAR, they really needed their supplies now, right? Because when you're an ER nurse, you don't have time to wait for supplies. So they had to write down a lot of the items they needed. Sometimes that would be just descriptions because that's all they had and that's what they needed right now. So that was really difficult for some of the caregivers to be able to replenish from their storeroom or put in a requisition for the vendor. So with using RF Smart PAR, now they're actually able to go up, scan their PAR, and be able to create those requisitions right there on the fly. And they're able to go down right away mobily, pick all of those items for those ER spaces and stock them right away. So it's a lot faster. And if they need those supplies in the ER, they can do that right then and right there. They don't have to worry about sifting through any kind of notes, try to find the correct item descriptions, right? So not only are you improving the efficiency, but you're also getting the correct items to those ER nurses, helping them care for their patients.
What a good story. One of the things, if you'll allow me on my soapbox for a moment, that I think is just really special about the job that we get to do is that these are real human beings that you're talking about who are frontline workers working through a pandemic, and we're making their lives a little bit easier. And I just think that it's so neat to be able to see that overnight transformation from doing something manually, then transforming and being able to do it on a mobile device, saving time, saving effort and energy that now that provider can put back into their patient care. I think that that's just really neat and a great example of a way that PAR management can transform your business.
Sarah, one of the things that really came to mind there is having previously worked for one of the big EMR companies, doing supply chain there as well. In supply chain, you can often feel like you are far from the patient. You're far from the care being provided because we're constantly working in these closets away from where the care is being administered. But PAR is a really great space to see where all of that preparation really meets the pavement, rubber meets the road, and helps us remind us of our mission to enhance patient care or to provide better patient outcomes.
It's really sweet. I mean, we really, truly, at our, from my team, we care about the caregivers. We know you guys are, really busy all the time, and you have done so much for your entire hospital. So we want to give back to you the best way we can and try to provide the best solution possible.
So if you are listening and you're like, man, I'd really like to get in on that, make sure you send us an email at info@rfsmart.com. Like I mentioned before, we've got a great blog about this and some other demand planning type content that I can link for you. Make sure you check that out. So for those of you listening, thanks for listening. You can subscribe on any of the platforms you listen to podcasts on, as well as at our website, rfsmart.com/onpar. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.